What do the hero of the South, Schlatt, Serie, Flamme have in common? They're all dead! I guess, kind of. In this video, we will be discussing everything clairvoyant in the Frieren Manga. How this may have an impact in the Foundation Festival arc, where the Shadow Warriors want to yeet our beloved Serie and get rid of magic from the world. What the hero of the South, Schlatt, and Serie says will further fuel our speculations for future arcs. And I want to point out that there is like this temporal motif in the Frieren story that always ends up mentioning 1,000 years. But before we get into it, it's another day, week, month, oh my god, if it gets to 1 year. In the Frieren Manga hiatus, Yamada Kanehito and Abe Tsukasa are sick, like this, and this. But are they really? Like this, and this. Just chilling, living carefree, like they already know the future. Yamada Kanehito is secretly updating the script of the Foundation Festival arc to deliver to the great mage Serie, the Feet Goddess. This time, the Living Grimoire has had enough of Kanehito's games, and so she says, Mr. Zila!
合格だ.
So, what is clairvoyance? There may be some hints early on that Flamme may have a bit of clairvoyance herself, but those are not going to be as defined as the three main characters we will discuss. That establishes facts about how the different kinds of clairvoyances or future sight works. We will go in chronological order when it was first introduced by Mustachman himself, the greatest hero humanity knows of in recent memory, in the Hero of the South. But it is important that you guys are up to date with the manga because I will be referencing many things that happen in the future that makes these explanations a lot more sense. And so Flamme aside, that could have possessed some form of clairvoyance, our first outright confirmation of such a power existing was back in chapter 63, the Hero of the South, featuring the craziest behind the scenes mysterious lore that has some kind of impact from here on out. The Hero of the South faced all 7 demon sages of destruction and Schlatt the Omniscient, who was said to be able to see 1,000 years in the future. That will be later confirmed in the Golden Land arc, but the Hero of the South took down 3 of the 7 demon sages and Schlatt, while the hero's party took out 2 of them. This was literally our first experience seeing a clairvoyant versus clairvoyant battle before Serie ever even explained how clairvoyant people tend to die, either from arrogance or another clairvoyant person, mirroring Serie's exact situation right now between her prophetic dream against a mysterious other clairvoyant person who could be Commander Reve from the Southern Lands. But back to the Hero of the South's battle against Schlatt. If you guys want to get more into the mysteries of this fight, please check out my previous 2 videos. But overall, what happened here will have an impact in the future. Whenever we do end up discovering what actually happened here, what powers do these 3 other demons have that the Frieren story has yet to reveal? Did Grausam read the Hero of the South's mind? Did Mach turn him into gold, and that's why his body was never found? Was this all a part of Schlatt's plan, or was this all a part of the Hero of the South's plan? That's the 1,000 silver coin question here that could lead us down a rabbit hole of many different theories. Now, this leads us into what the Hero of the South actually tells Frieren. How the Hero of the South speaks here is a hint at a personality trait Serie warned us in clairvoyant people, in arrogance, something that Commander Louvre also exhibits. The Hero of the South knew he would fail recruiting Frieren and was comfortable enough to tell him his secret, that he can see the future. So confident that he knows that Frieren wouldn't tell anyone about it even if she understood how his magic works. This was a mind-blowing moment because it implies that Frieren will eventually understand how clairvoyance works. Hate to jump to the Foundation Festival arc for a brief moment, but when Frieren asks Serie what she sees in the future when they had their one-on-one discussion, is it possible that Frieren already knows how the Hero of the South's clairvoyance works at this point? Could knowing how clairvoyance works even save Serie? I think it's a possibility because I think the story is setting up a pathway for Frieren to ironically save Serie. Another point of why the hero of the South believes Frieren wouldn't tell anyone is because it simply might be too dangerous. You might end up like Millarde here if you think your future is crap. I think this exact statement is exactly what the Foundation Festival arc is trying to prove as a lesson about seeing the future. But we'll get to a little bit of that later. The hero of the South just straight up tells her that he will die 1 year from now by the hands of Schlott and the 7 demon sages in the northern plateau. But don't worry, Frieren wouldn't have been able to help him anyways. This is another damn clairvoyant rabbit hole because 1, he never explains the details of how he gets yeeted, and 2, he knows that recruiting Frieren wouldn't have changed his fate either way. Hindsight 2020 from the Golden Land arc tells us that the significance of what happened in this fight against the 7 demon sages would mean that he should tell Frieren everything that went down before he gets yeeted, because that means the demons are up to something beneficial to them that can bypass if they know in the future that the Demon King would eventually fall. This is where the arrogance of Clairvoyance could have gotten in the way, in the fact that he knows that she will join the hero's party to eventually defeat the Demon King. Or this was indeed supposed to play out the way it did, and he shouldn't tell Frieren what happened. I'll let you guys' brains melt pondering about that. The fact that the hero of the South mentioned that recruiting Frieren would have led to his death either way means that this fight would have to go down the way it does at some point. Notice that, like Serie's prophetic dream and Schlott's multiple visions of fighting the hero of the South, they can all see what different paths will ultimately lead them. And where it ultimately leads them is usually the same result of death. The hero of the South gets yeeted by Schlott in the 7 demon sages. It is also true vice versa in Schlott's perspective as well. All of Serie's different routes leads her to get yeeted too. Think about what we already know about the Foundation Festival arc, and once again I'll point out how this is mirroring Serie's exact situation. Frieren didn't change the hero of the South's demise by joining him, but now she possibly can in the Foundation Festival arc, especially if she understands how to break clairvoyance, thus making the impossible possible. Imagining breaking barriers, bringing people that go beyond your imagination and expectation. The Foundation Festival arc is our answer to the hero of the South's clairvoyant dilemma that ultimately leads him to his death. Every arc thereafter, especially with the defeat of Bose the Immortal, becomes the evidence for what answers and lessons we will find as a result of the attempted eating of Serie's life. After the hero of the South tells Frieren what her future journey would be with the hero's party, he asks for a favor to tell Himmel that he promises to blaze a path to the future. I, humanity's greatest hero, the hero of the South, even if my great accomplishments are buried and forgotten in the shadows of history. There is an anime-only scene that leaves much for interpretation when Frieren tells Himmel this. So the implications and every single detail that the hero of the South says here, from the mystery of this fight, the mystery of these other 3 7 demon sages, and what they all ultimately did to the hero of the South, to no one ever finding his body, are all of our burning questions right now. It wasn't until the Golden Land arc where powers and events that took place has an indirect and direct impact on clairvoyance, and what happened during the hero of the South's death. We learned that elite hypnosis users like Edo can read minds, and more importantly, was able to read Mok's mind. This is mind-blowing because humans and demons' biology are different. You're basically not supposed to be able to, but Edo did, specifically capturing 100 years of Mok's memories. That makes us think of what? The opposite can be true. Demons that use hypnosis magic could be able to read human memories. That's basically Grausam, and we saw him do it in the Goddess Monument arc, which ultimately leads to Edo passing on the memories to Denkin, who passes it on to Frieren. Do you guys remember what the hero of the South said? Even if you learn the secret of my magic, you'll never tell a soul about it. Beyond analyzing via gold. Was Frieren able to obtain further knowledge of clairvoyance through Mok's memories? Going into chapter 89, this becomes what chapter 63 was for the Hero of the South, for Schlatt, the Omniscient. Mok reveals that his weakness is whatever abilities Grausam possesses. For a fact, we know his hypnosis abilities are so elite that he can deceive greater demons like Solitaire. He even possesses some other unknown abilities like whatever he did to Himmel the Hero before the story cut out the part where Frieren escapes to the Goddess Monument. But more specifically, after the fight against the Hero of the South, he wiped the memories of Mok's fight against him. The fact that Schlatt went out of his way to make sure Frieren wouldn't be able to analyze the memories of that fight against the Hero of the South must mean something more major that even goes beyond the demise of the Demon King. This is what sparked fan theory that goes beyond what we think is just a peaceful era beyond the defeat of the Demon King. It tells us that demons have a future vested interest in keeping the results of that fight a mystery that they will somehow use whatever happened as a result for the future. That future has yet to come, or is it actually occurring right now in the Foundation Festival arc? Schlatt says this directly to Mok, knowing that Frieren would be seeing this exact conversation through the eyes of Mok. We are in a war for our very existence as demons. We'll be fighting for demons in a mopping up operation 1,000 years from now. Although there are only demon remnants left after the defeat of the Demon King, apparently there will still be demons 1,000 years in the future, or some may speculate that demons could rise once again. And maybe the events of what actually happened in the fight against the Hero of the South might finally come to light as being the reason for demon survival. Schlatt was 100% comfortable saying this to Frieren, knowing what would eventually go down 1,000 years into the future, which makes that Hero of the South battle against the 7 Demon Sages of Destruction and Schlatt the Omniscient potentially not fully being revealed until then. The biggest takeaway from this arc is establishing the abilities of the strongest hypnosis user like Edo and Grausam, which leads to the ever-growing lore of what truly happened between Schlatt, the 7 Demon Sages, and the Hero of the South. Like what Frieren told Serie, what is her role in all of this? But after the Golden Land arc, this takes us to the Goddess Monument arc. Frieren being able to travel back in time in the Goddess Monument arc is another major wrinkle in questioning how clairvoyance can work, because this arc confirms via Thor that whatever she did do back in that timeline actually changes the present timeline. It makes you wonder if there is some time paradox that could mess with clairvoyance. But like what we will find out with Serie explaining clairvoyance and what she's trying to accomplish with avoiding her death in the Foundation Festival arc, just because you can see the future doesn't mean it can't change. Frieren establishes that if she does reveal any magic from the future, it could help grow the Demon King's army of magic from the future. This seems to be the opposite of what Commander Louvre is trying to do by getting rid of mana and magic, by the laws of the world rewritten in the time of myth shall return to how they once were. My interpretation of this, that the Shadow Warrior's true goals, along with anyone else connected to Commander Reve, wants to give it all back to the Goddess of Creation, or some version of this that leads to the removal of magic from the world, where only the gods possess such a thing. The theory of irreversibility gets brought up from Solitaire, and even Flamme studied it. These are all indirect theories and series of events taking place that probably we would assume mess with a person's clairvoyance. Thus why people are able to see different futures, especially if people are always messing with the timeline. Which makes you wonder how many of these different outcomes Schlatt and the Hero of the South was able to see, knowing that the timelines could be manipulated by situations where someone ends up changing the past like Frieren did. This is the arc where we get to see Grausam in action. His hypnosis magic is so powerful that even Solitaire could be fooled by it, revealing that this might not even be his true physical appearance. He was able to bypass Frieren's mana detection and put both Himmel and Frieren in deep sleep. So deep that they almost got married. Once both Frieren and Himmel realize that they are in Grausam's hypnosis, this is where another connection to clairvoyance may lie. It might be a weakness of clairvoyance. Frieren tells Himmel that her magic can't do anything about Grausam's hypnosis magic, but Mr. Make the impossible possible can. Think about this. Himmel was able to chip away at both the Immortal's barriers and gave Frieren the belief that she could analyze it and ultimately break it. In this instance against Grausam, while in deep sleep, living in a completely different reality that seems 100% real. Even Frieren's mind of detection sees that reality as real. So Himmel was able to literally fight beyond the illusion of that reality. He was able to sense his sword in the real world. This takes us back to the hero of the South and what he said to Frieren. We know that he has seen multiple realities and futures because he saw a future where he did recruit Frieren, but he still got yeeted. This means that Himmel the Hero, no matter what timeline and reality they are in, taking down the Demon King is the inevitable one. Himmel can always make his reality the one reality that comes true. It was such the reality that the hero of the South chose that one and forced Schlatt the Omniscient to also choose that one. Once again, this is echoed in the Foundation Festival arc with Serie basically bringing everyone she can that goes beyond her imagination and expectation. They are in a sense clairvoyant breakers because they can see other realities that exist beyond Serie's potential death. One more takeaway from the Goddess Monument arc is Grausam escaping Himmel's grasp. He had to resort to a way of fighting that he's not fond of and told Himmel to not hate him for what's coming next. And what came next? More mysteries. We don't know, but both Solitaire and Grausam lived on with Grausam finding out something from Frieren or even Himmel about the future. All the theories kinda tie in with Grausam in some way because of his knowledge, hypnosis abilities, and literally being at all the most significant events. The assumption here is that Grausam even tells Solitaire what he learned. But as we can see in the Golden Land arc, whatever he told Solitaire still led to her death when she got yeeted from very, very, very far away. Now, in the latest arc of the Foundation Festival arc, we get to see Serie's form of clairvoyance in action with her prophetic dream, seeking out an open conversation away from the restrictions of being able to speak freely in the real world. There are key plot happenings here that Serie says when she's speaking with the Emperor within the prophetic dream, like how she ends up yeeting Captain Fraser of the Magic Special Forces before she reached them. This is another one of those predictions that we are still waiting on to be true, but onto the prophetic dream. The Emperor reveals that he knows that he is inside Serie's dream and not his, due to this color-changing flame that Flamme used to own. Serie tries to clarify that her clairvoyance isn't really clairvoyance, but it's still the best way to explain what her prophetic dream is. Like Schlatt and the Hero of the South, she has had many versions of her prophetic dream play out. Since the Emperor is aware and knows it's a dream, this is basically a defect in Serie's eyes. It's basically a dead end because the actions that people take should reveal a real scenario. So being aware that this isn't real defeats the purpose. But what happens next actually becomes a benefit to Serie because the Emperor ultimately disclosed that he is using a magic that protects his mental defenses just in case something like this prophetic dream happens. So the fake version in Serie's dream is actually still mentally connected to the real one. This is where Serie makes a pact with the Emperor to exchange information because she finally reveals what happens at the end of her prophetic dreams. She'll be dead. Eventually, Serie starts to explain how specifically her prophetic dream works. The magic enabling the prophetic dream is a spell that allows her to occasionally experience the future in the form of a dream. The timing and length of the dream are random, and the chance of it even activating is small. Most importantly, it is about the limit of her prophetic dream. That is the big difference between Schlatt and the Hero of the South. She can't see beyond her death. We know that Schlatt can see up to 1,000 years in the future, and the Hero of the South was able to at least see the hero's party defeating the Demon King after his death. How far ahead he can see, we still don't know just yet. So Serie continues to explain. She ends up getting yeeted at the conclusion of the Foundation Day Festival, where it looks like the same roof where Commander Reve and Lyra are currently at. She goes on to explain the imperfections of clairvoyance because only one time in the whole human history, only one person has ever managed to perfectly turn a prediction into reality. That person, the hero of the South. Most of us interpret this as what we already know, his prediction that the hero's party ends up defeating the Demon King. But could this be something else? Maybe. Aside from that, Serie continues describing how clairvoyant spells specifically work. It's usually not just one clairvoyant spell, but rather a combination of several spells that can make the most accurate prediction. Unfortunately for her, she gave away all these spells away as privileges to her mages, only keeping the prophetic dream spell. This goes on to describe the weaknesses of not only clairvoyants, mages that have clairvoyance end up dead due to arrogance of seeing the future or by another clairvoyant person. Literally, everyone she gave clairvoyance to is dead. One can conclude that maybe seeing the future is a curse. This is where I explained earlier how Commander Reve and the Hero of the South exhibit a certain arrogance one can only have, thinking that their visions that they have about the future would come true. And it seems to always pit one clairvoyant person against another. The big mystery that comes from this arc is who this clairvoyant person is that keeps yeeting Serie in every scenario. Like the Hero of the South and Schlatt, Serie can see multiple futures and go on different routes, but it ultimately just leads to her death or the death of many of her other Continental Magic Association mages until she faces her death. So having clairvoyance leads you to always lead to an inevitability. At least that is what you can only see. So who is this clairvoyant person? Serie surmises that since she can't detect that person's mana, it's either a warrior or a person that far exceeds the skills of a person that should exist in this era. All of a sudden, this makes us question if the Frierens of the world that went back in time somehow gifted someone the knowledge to advance even further in the future than most people should in this timeline. Very specifically, she drops the lore that most clairvoyant spells come from one clan that was driven to extinction during the Southern Land Wars. Now everything related to these Southern lands becomes fan theory into who could possess such an ability. The obvious answer, with a similar physical appearance and confirmed to be from the Southern Lands, is Commander Reve, aka Helt. There is also his master in Lyra, but further speculations even have us thinking it could be someone like Sins, Belsh, or even Ubel. There is an entire roster of Shadow Warriors that have mysterious backgrounds as well. Ultimately, we know that it's not Captain Frieza because she has distinct northern features, but this arc and how it relates to clairvoyance and predictions of both Schlatt and the Hero of the South is still playing out right now. When you look at clairvoyance in the Foundation Festival arc, one of the many lessons behind Serie only seeing herself get yeeted is what? Can you change your destiny? It's basically what I mentioned earlier with Himmel, wiping away everyone's predictions to always carve out his own path that succeeds. Himmel's own will made the Hero of the South pick that path. When Serie spoke with Zinza about why she chose who she chose to bring along her mission to save herself, she can only see the future where she gets yeeted. As a result, it makes the most sense to bring the people that defies what she thought was possible. In Fausch, Sins, Linio, Kanona, all people that go beyond her imagination and expectation, that ultimately led to Frieren's party being involved, leading Zion back into their party. And her party being involved seems to be something that wasn't even a part of Serie's predictions. From Sins, who is a pacifist and the leader of this mission, she recruited the best possible people that could help save Serie. So that already becomes someone that kind of went beyond her expectation and imagination by bringing in someone that Serie banned her from. There was one little conversation that Frieren and Serie had when Frieren told her to just. Frieren just straight up asked what future Serie sees and what role she plays in it. Remember once again that this scenario mirrors the Hero of the South back in chapter 63, where he basically says that Frieren joining him doesn't change the outcome where he gets yeeted. The same is happening here with Serie, but she doesn't outright say it. At this point, we can question how much Frieren actually knows about clairvoyance now that she has long past defeated the Demon King with the Hero's Party, 100% fulfilling the Hero of the South's prediction. Now it becomes, since she analyzed 100 years of Mock's memories, does that change how she sees the future or even learn about how clairvoyance works? Is there other newfound knowledge that Frieren obtained that led the Hero of the South to believe that Frieren could potentially find out how his magic of clairvoyance works? This is basically where we're at as of chapter 147, and generally what we know about clairvoyance. I think the lesson behind this arc about going beyond your expectation and imagination is basically an analogy to be around people that can see something you cannot, to have an open mind. Otherwise, new realities can't be created. It is why imagination is a core tenet of magic. Himmel is the perfect example of this because it is the path that the Hero of the South chose, that thought it was the best for the world. Himmel the Hero is the one that constantly makes the impossible possible and likely is a clairvoyant vision breaker. We can go even deeper into the philosophy of why knowing the future could be bad, because as humans, we want to know that our destinies could be changed. It hinders our imagination of what the future could be, and that is why, once again, imagination is a core component of magic, because you cannot create something new into the world, like a different future, if you can't even see it happening. So for a bonus, let's talk about Flamme. Did Flamme have clairvoyance? She knew Frieren would seek out her grimoires and end up where she told her about heaven in Oreo, where she got to reconnect with the dead spirits of her comrades. It is just a simple prediction based on Frieren's character traits that would lead her to be curious about Beyond Journey's End. Or was it a type of clairvoyance? Flamme also had that color-changing flame magical item that the Emperor used to distinguish dreams from reality. It was likely that Flamme was at least aware of power similar to what Serie's prophetic dream is. While it's uncommon to have mind readers and mind invaders like Edo around, it's something in the realm of possibility for someone that studied over 100 magical theories. This might be a coincidence, and that correlation doesn't mean causation, but 1,000 years has been referenced specifically by Serie and obviously Schlott. It's kind of a temporal motif in Frieren that 1,000 years being said has a very much impactful significance to it. Serie says in 1,000 years, humanity will take over. In 1,000 years, Frieren confirms that it is indeed the age of humans. Schlott mentions 1,000 years from his conversation with Mock that demons will be fighting for their existence. Flamme knew in about 1,000 years or longer that Frieren would seek her out for help. Did Flamme, Schlott, or even Serie know that when the era of humans is here, that they will overtake immortal-like beings like elves and demons? From the time Flamme picked up Frieren, one would think it would be coincidence that Flamme crossed paths with Frieren, and it wasn't until Frieren mentioned that she could tell that Flamme was much stronger than what she was letting on with only her intuition. That would make it seem like she didn't quite have clairvoyance. However, as Flamme further aged and taught her everything about hiding and deceiving, using her mana or limiting her mana, it almost felt like Flamme's words were a guarantee that she would defeat the Demon King someday and be that hero. Of course, this could just be something to drive the narrative home of Flamme's belief in her top student, but realize that Flamme did have many other disciples and basically trained all the original Imperial mages back in the day when the Emperor first approved worldwide research into magic. Ultimately, the story could lead us back into more Flamme lore about if she possessed some kind of clairvoyance, because there is circumstantial evidence that's building towards that possibility, and if you accept that she does, everything makes a little bit more sense for why she put all of her faith into Frieren. Is it only because she is an elf that can live for a long time? Or how does Flamme know that Frieren is a mage meant for the Age of Peace? Maybe because she saw the future. Well guys, this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. So let me know what you guys thought about clairvoyance, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.